Hello viewers, I'm SB and welcome to Humankind. Yes, the whole thing. This is the real thing. Thank you very much to our friends at Amplitude for giving me access to a very close to release build of the game a little bit early so that we can dig into it. So, if you're not familiar, Humankind is the new 4X game from Amplitude, the makers of Endless Legend and Endless Space. It comes out next week on Tuesday, I think, the 17th. And we just get like a week head start to dig into it and show you most of the cool stuff it has to offer. There is some stuff under embargo. I'm not allowed to show you cinematics in this version, so I've got all of those disabled. And we're not allowed to play into the 6th era until next week. Given the speed at which I play these games, I suspect it will not be an issue. I don't even think it's going to come up. But yeah, that aside, let's just play some Humankind, shall we? And if you're not familiar with the basic mechanics of the game or anything, don't worry. I'm going to explain everything as we go. No one will be left behind. So we're playing on an 8-player map. I've just left all of the world gen settings on the defaults. We'll just see what the sort of like the core experience of the game is. We are playing on difficulty 5 of 7. I don't know if this is going to turn out to be too easy or too hard or what. I just kind of picked this arbitrarily. We'll play through here and then we will adjust for future games as necessary. And with that, yeah, away we go. So if you're not familiar with Humankind, it is a historical themed 4X. Obviously, it's not actually historical because, you need to be able to build build for yourself the path of your own fictional civilization. But it does some really interesting things with the historical formula. I think it's going to draw a lot of comparisons very naturally to Sid Meier's Civilization, but I don't really think they're all that similar within the bounds of the genre. Like, they're totally games of the same genre, but within that, I think there are a lot of really, really interesting differences. So the core idea of this game is...
The race begins. A new world, a new history, untold possibilities. There is so much to see, to do, to learn, or, depending on one's preferences, to destroy.
Okay, so what I was going to say is, apparently there's a chatty advisor guy. We'll do our best to let him shine through. The core idea of this game is eras. A lot of the systems in the game are built sort of around this idea of eras that you move through by earning stars. So at the beginning of the game, we're in the Neolithic era here. We are just a single military unit, and that's true for all of the other players as well. And we move up into the next era where we can start to build cities and stuff by gaining a star, which lets us pick our first culture. So there are 3 different stars that can be earned in this era. The Growth Star, we can get our population up to 5. The Knowledge Star, we can discover enough curiosities to get a total of 10 science. Doing it this way will also unlock an extra trait that will help us throughout the game. I'm very interested in this being the way we proceed. Or we can earn the Hunter Star, hunting 5 total animal units. Now you'll notice, in addition to the star, there's some of this at stake. This is fame. Fame is victory points. The way you win a game of Humankind is by having the most fame at the end of the game. So it's very, very important that we maximize the number of stars that we're earning over time, because the victory does not go to the person who gets to the last era first. It goes to the person who gets to the last era best, effectively. So we may want to take the time to earn more than one of these stars, but Knowledge Star definitely going to be my initial focus because these legacy traits are very powerful. So we can see here in our starting area, in addition to hunting for the basic tools necessary to start building for civilization, we're getting to explore the map during this time, so we're looking for tiles that have good high resource yields, and I kind of think settling an empire, or settling our basic city right here, next to this black soil, which gives bonus science, this oasis, which gives all this extra food, and these mountains where we can construct mines and stuff for industry, seems like a pretty good idea. We may want to go down there and lay down our initial outpost. Oh, hey, look at that. We got ourselves a curiosity of some kind. Well, something happened here. Those are definitely structures.
Even those who have disappeared may have done something very clever.
So yeah, we found ourselves an ancient encampment, abandoned, sadly, but there was a science and 5 points of influence in it. So influence here, this star resource, is tremendously important for managing our cities once we have cities. You can see these diamonds indicate there's some kind of resource in this tile. We can tell that it's special, but we don't know what the resource is yet. It's something that we will uncover as we make scientific progress. So I am going to come down here, and hey, look at that. Another one. All right, each one of these science curiosities is going to give us, I believe, a random amount of science between 1 and 3, inclusive, obviously. So it is not the case that we have to find 10 of them, but we've had a little bit of bad luck here. You know what? We can come back and settle this later. We should keep looking around. We're gonna head this way. So in this game, moving into a river tile, moving from a non-river tile into a river tile consumes all of your remaining movement. But once you are in the river, it's very easy and cheap to move up or down the length of the river. So we're going to end our turn here. And here we have a hostile animal lair. The dark and fetid dwellings of dangerous, aggressive wildlife. We should probably deal with that before it spawns a bunch of big hostile creatures. So let's just run over here. You know what? Let's go grab the food real quick. I'm going to move up the river.
Though next time, it might be better if you washed it first.
I mean, it was in the freshwater. It says so right there. I'm sure there's no way we could get sick from that. All right, now we're going to come back and get this. You can see that's filled part of our tribe bar here. When we get to 20 total collected food, we get another unit, which is another point of population for counting toward that star. And also, obviously, it makes us better at fighting. An event has spawned. What do we have here? In the distance, a thin cord of smoke cuts up into the clear blue skies. Fire. Calling a few tribesmen, you run closer, the smell of cindered bark and burning pine growing stronger with each footfall. You spy dancing flames, and suddenly find yourselves on the edge of a settlement on fire. Many of the structures are ablaze, but even with the smoke and flames, you can see these abodes are marvels of craftsmanship. You're about to direct your men to put out the fires with loose soil when you see short, shadowed figures running away. Youths. They could become part of your tribe if you give chase now, but that would mean losing these secrets of construction. Okay, so we can get a reduction to the eventual cost of researching city defense, or we can just take in the refugees. Let's do that. I think more bodies is probably the smart move here. Especially since we're about to end this army's turn really early. So we're moving on to the tile with the lair, and we are going to ransack that lair. This will get rid of it, and it will yield us a bunch of food, and you can go and get some of this new science stuff we found. Oof. Just one again, huh? These ancient encampments are, they're not so good. So we've seen a lot of mountains and a lot of rivers. The river tiles tend to have bonus food on them. You can see, this is a four food tile. A lot of tiles in the game will only have like a single point of resource. So anytime you see a bunch of tiles close together that can give a little bit more than that, there's potentially a very compelling place to put a city. All right, we successfully plundered. We got food, presumably by eating whatever of the animals. We're still hanging around. So we're doing pretty well on population. We may well get that population star. Oh, hey, an encampment that gives 2 science. What is it, my birthday?
What's over there?
And we've discovered, a source of papyrus. Neat. So +4 stability, +3 science per papyrus on your main plaza. Wow. You must exploit at least 2 of 4 deposits of this type. Okay, so we found this is not just a papyrus. I think this is a wondrous papyrus deposit. That's very cool. Okay, so we need to be on the lookout for more of that stuff. The mammoth here, you can see, has every unit has a combat strength. This is a very important concept of the combat system. We have 10. The mammoth here has 13. It will not be good. If we fight the mammoth, that would be a devastating loss, probably. Fortunately, the mammoth is fundamentally peaceful, so we're just gonna avoid it. Okay, we're doing it. Slowly creeping up there. We're at 7. It was pretty lucky that we've managed to get as many extra bodies as we have, and really I should probably split this army into two separate armies for faster exploration. But keeping them together, they could potentially like fight a mammoth. And the mammoth is probably a fair amount of food, if I had to guess. Okay, there's like a whole bunch of... Alright, so there's another source of papyrus. So this region here, you can see the map is broken up into regions by these dotted lines. Whenever you found a city, it will take over the entire region that it is in, and each region can only host one city. This region, with its multiple papyrus and its big river and its mountains and some kind of strategic resource that we'll unlock later, seems like a pretty prime candidate for settling. So I'm going to set one of my tribes over there. Okay, we may want to just reunite here and then fight a mammoth because, again, food. This mammoth clearly has feelings about me being up in its territory. I mean, I feel bad for it, but at the same time, we are absolutely going to ransack this mammoth sanctuary because that is a whole point of population. So yeah, we're barreling toward a couple of stars at the same time here. All right, so what we're being told now is that 3 other players have gotten a star and have moved up into the next era. We're moving a little bit slowly here. Okay, so I combined the amount of food that the two groups had, and it was enough to produce another point of population. So we did, in fact, get ourselves a star. We're going to talk about all this stuff in a moment. We're not moving forward just yet. I really want this knowledge star. But you can see over time, the amount of fame earned per star goes down. And in this case, it's gone down quite quickly. So we're going to end up with a pretty poor fame score moving into the next era. But you got to remember the AI players just moved up as well. So they're getting the same amount. I think we're going to fight this mammoth. All right, let's do it manually just to make sure nothing silly happens. So you can see we've got our deployment zone here in our color with our 310 strength units. We're just gonna, you know what? I guess I do want you to start over there. Yeah, this should be fine. So we're just gonna deploy this way. And the reason I deployed that way will become clear in a moment. So we just take turns, right? The attacker gets a turn where they get to move and or attack with all their units. And then the defender gets another such turn. In order to get maximum advantage out of the combat system here, it's very important to understand how modifiers are generated. It might not seem like a big deal that this mammoth has 3 more combat strength than we do, but in actuality, the balance on the combat system is very, very tight. Very small differences in combat strength generate huge amounts of damage. So I've placed this unit on the high ground above the mammoth. The mammoth is suffering a combat strength penalty, you can see there, of 3 points from crossing the river. We get a 4-point bonus from having the high ground. We get another 4-point bonus because we are flanking the mammoth directly across with 2 units. That's the rear attack bonus. And then another 1-point morale bonus from just having a friendly unit adjacent. So we've managed to overcome the mammoth's natural strength advantage and then some. And then here we can get a nearly as good attack. We don't get that high ground, but everything else is working for us. And at this point, the mammoth is also suffering a combat penalty from being heavily damaged. So this last tribe can move in and without nearly as many bonuses, finish the job pretty easily. All right, 20 food and 20 influence for that. Not bad. And then we will potentially just take out the other one as well. We really, really need to find... Here, let's split up over here. I am desperate to find more encampments and stuff. No, wait, this unit. We're not having much luck, though. All right, y'all head this way. And the game really wants us to move into the next era, but I am being stubborn about that monolithic, that Neolithic legacy trait. So we're just gonna hold in the current era for a moment. Now, one reason that this is kind of a bad idea in some ways is that there are a limited number of cultures available per age, and you can see once somebody picks a culture, they're exclusive. We cannot be the Harappans because somebody else got to the Harappans before we did. So delaying is maybe going to leave us with a pretty narrow selection. But also, like I said, the legacy trait, I think it's quite important. I really want it. There's definitely going to be some amount of just like trying stuff out here because, of course, this is our first time playing with the release build of the game, and we don't know what good strategies are. So rather than trying to do the things that always seem best, we are going to just be experimental a bit. But I want to see the release version of these traits. So another player has discovered a wonder of the world, Gunung Mulu. So let's take a look at this. So there are all these competitive deeds, things that only one culture really can earn, and each one of them has a fame score attached to it. So for each natural wonder of the world, whoever finds it first gets 50 fame. There are also some things that are related to like scientific progress, like completing nuclear weapons testing or holding a symposium or electricity or whatever. Circumnavigating the world is worth fame. Setting foot on an uninhabited continent is worth fame. So yeah, stuff to keep an eye on as we advance. Probably not things to worry about in the very near term. All right, an event spawned on this army. What's up? Your scout comes to you, breathless from exertion. Between gasps, he tells you that he spied another tribe not far ahead. He leads you on, then after giving you a stop signal, you drop to your bellies and crawl forward in the brush. Ahead, a young woman no more than 13 summers is leading a ceremony. Her audience, a dozen or so equally young or younger tribesmen. Many are crying, and when you see the bodies laid out, you understand that they are in mourning. You know what you must do. So, to be perfectly honest with you, so we can welcome them in, get ourselves another unit, and then there's a chance that another event will follow. I feel like this is the nice thing to do, but also, if we just run away, our tribe gets a speed bonus, and I'm really looking for those knowledge things. I guess just having 2 units and spreading them out is probably better for searching than the speed bonus. Yeah, all right. More bodies. More bodies is probably good. So this is actually really awkward. There's a lot of... It's not super clear, but there's a cliff here. Yeah, we don't have a lot of movement available to us. So there's a food curiosity up there. Oh, and we're actually very close to the top of the map. Oh, stupid mammoth. It's right in my way. Okay, let's go this way. We can probably get some vision over here. Okay, there's a curiosity. I guess your job is going to be to, like, move... Boy. For the moment, I think these armies are kind of just moving on top of each other. We'll fan out when we can. And then down here, do we want to fight another mammoth, or do I want to... I might want to just go lay down that initial outpost. It's not really a 4-body job, though. All right, y'all, go fight this mammoth. So notice the terrain the combat will occur on is the terrain around where you actually engage. So not just the positions of the armies, but their like positions relative to each other matter a lot. It would be a lot smarter for us to engage from a tile that's on the same height that he's on, because that would mean that there's more even ground in our, or even higher ground in our deployment zone. So I'm not going to launch that attack this turn. We're going to hold off for a second. And this unit's going to scout this territory before we lay down the outpost, because I don't know exactly where I want it to go yet. Okay, I'm going to move up here. Oh, all right, that's compelling. Oh, that's too great of an elevation difference here. We can attack like this. So the mammoth's got the low ground. We don't have to stand in the river. Oh, interesting. The mammoth deployed backward to avoid giving us the high ground bonus. I think the way I'm going to choose to handle this is by fanning out around here. We're just going to take all the high ground, and then I'm going to end the turn. You can see there are 3 rounds in this combat. I'm just kind of curious if we can bait it forward. You know, it's a wild animal. It's, tactically speaking, probably not super powerful. Yeah, so I went ahead and did the uphill attack. It has some benefit as it has higher combat strength and we're standing in a river, but obviously there's a lot of other parts of this that are not working out so well for it. So let's go ahead and do the flank.
Kill them.
Get a couple of high ground attacks in. And then is it worth attacking it from here? Yeah, probably. We're going to take pretty similar amounts of damage.
Hit them.
But the fact that we have this massive numbers advantage helps, obviously. Now, unfortunately, that mammoth is going to get to really give it to that unit that's standing in the tile, or in the river, but we do survive. Okay, so we got here enough things. We will probably be able to get that legacy star this turn.
What's over there?
Show me what's up here. So there's this weird little mountain valley. I mean, this area is beautiful. I'll give it that. There's some compelling stuff over here. Maybe we settle like right there. So that gives us the crater for the bonus science. It doesn't have a lot of food to start with, but we can correct that later. We'll learn how to farm on the mountainsides. Terrace farms and whatnot.
This way.
All right, y'all come over here, and I think we are gonna just go ahead and ransack this. I'm a little surprised, given how far we've ranged at this point, that we haven't seen another player.
We move.
I mean, I assume they're all south of us. We have gone from our starting position basically just toward the edge of the map, so that's probably got a lot to do with it. All right, well, that was one. They're gonna make us work real hard for this. And again, this is just bad luck. Man, look at the number of river tiles here. A city founded like in the delta probably be pretty good. We have access to a couple of dye deposits. Yeah, that's not bad either. I can definitely see how we could unfold a whole empire from the position we're seeing here. Oh, right. I'm sorry. They had a point of movement left because I was going to have them ransack. Well, I'm a little spacey. Sometimes the plan gets away from me. There we go. That's important. Please do that. We're going to have so many initial melee units here. All right, this thing should be pretty straightforward. I'm just going to hit instant resolve. We don't have to resolve every battle manually, and battles like well, you know what? No, there's high ground involved. Let's maybe do this manually. I'm a little worried that the AI might not
This way.
might not take full advantage of the terrain there, because we definitely don't want to be fighting from the low ground. This thing's not that much weaker than we are. I'm just going to end my turn, and it's going to come forward, and we're going to fight on even territory, and we have a better combat strength. I can probably turn up the speed on those combat animations. Yeah, all right. This one's going to be very straightforward. I just wanted to make sure that the AI wasn't keeping us fighting uphill. So obviously, with the way the combat system works here, there's a pretty massive advantage to being the attacker. Getting to go first is huge. A little bit more food, a little bit more all that stuff. There's a mammoth standing on... Damn it. Well, that's going to make it pretty hard for me to pick that up. I'm going to go grab this one. And once again, only one science. Rough. These are some rough ruins. I guess let's...
Do it.
Yeah, we should search down this way. So we got something here, some kind of freshwater harvest. I really just want to see where the rest of the edge of the thing is here. I do think we're likely to just settle up there, but I'd like more information before we make that call. Let's get you in the river. So there's actually a lot of sources of dye around here. It's a very dye heavy area. Okay, one more person got their culture.
Onwards.
Okay, finally. And was it? Yes, it was. It was, in fact, another one science curiosity. Ah, you're killing me. All right, well, the important thing is we made it. So that should have, yes, it generates an event. You stand at a crossroads. For many moons, the tribe has trekked the wilderness, slowly, tortuously learning the secrets of this world. how the materials hidden in the deep places and in plain sight might be fashioned to the tribe's advantage, how the beasts and plants of the lands and seas can be most fruitfully harvested, and how myths and stories can, glacially but inescapably, give power over our greatest enemies, other tribes. Now you must decide in what domain the tribe will truly sharpen its knowledge for the ages to come. So we can gain extra industry for every point of population in all of our cities, extra food for every point of population, or extra science for every point of population. Obviously, these are pretty serious bonuses. Like, over the course of a game, and, provided that we get large enough, this is going to add up to be just a truly huge effect. I am inclined to just go population focused, but there's certainly something to be said for additional industry. You know what? I think I am actually going to take that. We will be known as makers. Only a lack of imagination will limit what we might one day fashion with our hands. And with that, we could now just move on to the next era. I'm not sure what will happen to the curiosities. Will this thing still be here and produce science for us? I don't know. I guess let's find out. I am going to burn down this sanctuary because I am tired of all the mammoths. At some point, we're not going to want to keep a full army worth of dudes over here to control mammoths. So let's do that. Y'all successfully dealt with that place. It's more scouting. In general, more scouting. So right now, picking this up is probably not going to do anything, right? I think I'm going to have this army end their turn right here. We're going to see what happens to these things once the city... Well, I guess we're not going to have a city right away. I'm going to leave some of these curiosities, though, because I am curious. Okay, so we've seen the full region at this point. Yeah, it probably makes sense just to tuck a little city away up here. Now, the downside of this is, of course, that this city is not going to be able to grow super large because we're squished up against these mountains. But I think the value of this area is high enough. And then we're still pretty close to this. We can expand into this region and get that very good city position. And overall, I'm pretty happy with our stuff here. So let's go ahead and pick our culture. We have 40 fame, which puts us in second place. We're totally killing it. Yeah, let's go. So, a culture is made up of a bunch of different pieces. First of all, you have the affinity. There are 7 different affinities, and you'll see kind of how these work in a moment when we actually move up into the next era. They give different bonuses and abilities. So the Expansionist Affinity gives, first of all, the passive bonus of ambition. You can always enter another empire's land, even if they have closed their borders to you. And you have the action to forcibly annex territories that are occupied by other empires, outposts, and administrative centers. And expansionist empires earn more fame when earning expansionist era stars. So every affinity is linked to a certain type of era star, and they get bonus fame from that. So here we get plus land movement speed, plus combat strength. This is a very fighty sort of faction. Everybody gets a unique district that they can build on the map. So this one gives plus influence, fortification, bonus combat strength. Yeah, it's all combat stuff here. And everybody gets an emblematic unit. Each culture has an emblematic unit. This one is going to require access to horses. We have not seen any horse tiles. I'm assuming that some of those strategic resources could potentially be horses. Maybe? I don't know. Not a very strong one, I think. The Babylonians are science-focused. They can set their cities into collective minds mode. All of the industry and money output of the city is converted into science for 5 turns. You get plus 2 science for every researched technology in the capital city. They have a very strong emblematic district, which produces additional science and additional food. Obviously a very... Wow, it counts as both a farmer's quarter and a research quarter for the purpose of bonuses. A lot of the districts will get bonuses when placed adjacent to certain other kinds of districts. So this seems very powerful. And their emblematic unit is just a decent anti-cavalry yeah, it requires some fancy metals, but cavalry units are a big deal in the early game, so having a good anti-cavalry thing is pretty smart. +1 industry on all tiles that produce industry and a reduction in all district costs. That's a very powerful early bonus. So the Egyptians are of the builder affinity. They can set cities into land raiser mode, converting all money and science into industry for 5 turns. And whenever you build a district, you get a little stability bonus. Stability sort of measures the happiness of your cities. It can be a real problem. It can be very difficult to control your stability. So anything that helps with that at all, because almost all districts have a -10 stability penalty on them. So the pyramid gives influence and industry, and more industry when placed adjacent to a maker's quarter and counts as a maker's quarter. And they have chariots, ranged chariots. You know, this is very annoying to fight. We have played against aggressive early game Egyptians in at least one of the open beta phases, and I know that they are powerful. The Olmecs are of the aesthete affinity. So they can spend money to promote patriotic works of art, pushing back foreign spheres of influence and generating their own influence. And their ideological proximity is always maxed out. That's going to be a little difficult to explain at this moment, but that is an interesting bonus. So each territory they own generates an extra influence. It can be a little hard to come by influence in the early game, so... and it's important to get influence to continue expanding, as future cities and regions will cost escalating amounts of influence to take over. They have the Olmec head, which counts as a farmer's quarter and gives influence and food. And they have a decent ranged unit that is stronger on forest tiles. That seems okay. Right now I'm thinking we may lean Egyptians. The Phoenicians have the merchant affinity. They can spend influence to marshal venture capital toward a resource deposit, either creating an extractor or generating a bunch of money. And they have the affinity bonus for merchants has to do with the interplayer trade system, which we'll worry about once we know some other players. So plus money, the unique district is also plus money. So this is a replacement for the harbor. This is a dock. I don't think... There's a lot of coastal territory where we are. We may not be on a very large landmass. But I think I don't think there's any reason to take Phoenicians over Egyptians here. And the Zhou are also aesthetes. So there are 7 different affinities, but there are 10 cultures available in each era. So you're going to see some overlap. Plus stability on their districts is pretty okay. Oh, and their district has a base stability bonus instead of penalty and gives a lot of science. That is actually pretty interesting. Bonus combat strength when your empire stability is high. Yeah, this seems pretty powerful too. Plus 5 science per adjacent mountain. Oh man. Given the territory we're starting in, you know what? Maybe this is what we're doing instead. Because these Confucian schools are going to be super powerful for us. You know what? Okay, let's do it. Whoops, that's what happens if you use your mouse wheel on this screen. It scrolls left and right. Yeah. As you can see, it changes our avatar's style of dress, and it will change the look of all of our buildings, and I think our units as well. And ordinarily there would be a cinematic there, but of course, like I said, they are disabled. So... Oh, right. Not until the end of the turn does that actually take place. So we're going to hit this and then...
Perhaps you don't really need to focus on markets when you have deep philosophers and dangerous chariots.
Dangerous chariots does seem like a pretty good idea. So we've reached the ancient era. We now have a culture. Cities can be created by selecting outposts and evolving them into cities. And this is how this era screen is going to look for the rest of the game. So there are 7 different categories of stars. In order to move up to a new era, we need 7 stars in total. There are 3 stars available in each category, and we get bonus fame for earning the stars that are in the category that is related to our affinity. So the stars that you get for earning influence, we get 50% more fame for those. So we can earn stars by gaining influence, expanding out and acquiring additional territories. Right now we're at 0 territories. That's a thing we definitely need to fix. Building more districts, increasing the number of population and or units within your empire, earning money, researching technologies, and finally, of course, killing enemy military units. Over time, the value of these stars is going to go down, so we want to burn to them pretty quickly. As we move up in eras, like when we move to our next culture in the second era, we will forget some of this culture's stuff. We will no longer be able to build Confucian schools or, I'm going to guess, Janches? I do not know how to pronounce that. But we will keep this trait. This is known as our legacy trait. And you can see we're going to accumulate a bunch of legacy traits over the course of the game. So because there are 10 different cultures available in each era, you can see how over the course of a game, you build this sort of like combined civilization that has little pieces of all of your different cultures in it. And it is going to make you're going to end up with a thing that feels quite different from game to game based on the cultures that it made sense to pick up and the cultures that were available and which ones were taken from you. I think this is a very cleverly designed system. But remember, we don't win by getting stars and moving to the next era quickly. We win by getting all the fame. So we probably want to stay in this era longer than it takes to collect the 7 stars, just to make sure we scoop up as much fame as it is reasonable to get before we move forward. There is some time pressure, of course, because the other players will be moving forward into new eras where they will have better military units and stuff. We definitely don't want to fall too far behind. So yeah, the curiosity did just stop existing, and we discovered a fancy mountain. So we gained 30 science for that. That's actually pretty cool. With sheer cliffs and a plateau often hidden by low-hanging clouds, the peak inspires awe to those in its foothills. So if we take this over, if we have control of this, we get 5 influence, some extra stability and money, and then it's adding 3 industry to the tiles that it takes over. That is pretty cool. Okay, and there are curiosities still. They're just a little bit different. Oh, is there a cliff there? Yeah, it's a little bit hard to see cliffs when they're on the northern edges of a tile. Boy, okay, we're going to have to go a long way around to see what's up here, because this is all cliff. Alright, so you can see ransacking is worth money now rather than food, because, you know, once you're dealing with cities instead of just wandering people, your resources are on a very different sort of scale. So we found ourselves some money. So you can see here, we have this ability. Every affinity has an ability attached to it. So immediately bring one of your empire's territories back into its sphere of influence and gain influence for each adjacent territory already in your sphere. Okay. So that costs us money. Not anything we have to worry about too much. This idea of spheres of influence really only comes into play once you are, like, neighboring another player. Stupid mammoth. Can you guys get over there a little bit faster? I do want to just, like, set up that that outpost as quickly as possible, but I guess it looks like it's going to take a couple of turns for anybody. Here, you know what? We'll break off one of these units.
Off we go.
I pulled this unit out of that army and then told the big army to... Well, okay. Well, that's their job now, and you're scouting this way. See, this is what happens when you don't control the mammoth population. They just get everywhere and they block you, and it's very inconvenient.
Rapid and dangerous, the Hittites. Get ready to hear the sound.
This is where I greet you.
I was expecting that.
Press upon you the wonder of my people, and tell you my ambitions. No? Maybe?
Okay, weird, sort of a surfer Hittite. I was expecting clicking on that magnifying glass to zoom us over to where we saw a Hittite, rather than to cut off what the narrator was saying there. Where did I encounter a Hittite? We must have seen one of their military units. But they moved past us before we... Well, shoot. So I have no idea what direction they're in. Okay, got some animal remains, which are worth a heck of a lot more science and influence than the crap we were finding before. Alright, sadly, this is going to be a little bit of an annoying task. But yeah, I think this should be pretty good. It's low on food, but we'll just research agriculture and we'll build some food stuff. It'll be fine. And then we can build like we can build a Confucian school right here, or actually right, yeah, there's this tile is adjacent to 3 mountains. That's definitely the right way to do it. Yeah, that should be good. And so I guess you can just scout down the river. Let's just look around. I would love to know which direction.
Greetings to the Nubians.
Ah, here we
Now
go.
There's some good fortune. A neighbor who may be more interested in commerce than conflict.
Boy, wouldn't that be nice? We should probably actually engage in some diplomacy here.
Life is wonderful, is it not? Treat me and my people with respect, and all will be well.
So different leaders, the different AI avatars, have different traits. Let's just go ahead and introduce ourselves.
Greetings, Sovereign. I ask only that you always be courageous and sincere.
How you doing, friend?
All right, so Makeda here is open and trusting. That's good news, and I guess it makes sense that she picked a sort of a trade-focused civilization. She has lowered assimilation costs, +2 combat strength on units if they are rented. So these are traits that come into play when dealing with the independent factions, sort of the minor factions on the map. We'll see some of those at some point. And of course, they want to assimilate as many independent peoples as possible. That makes sense. So we can offer trade if either one of us has access to any luxury or strategic units or resources, which of course is not the case at the moment. We could potentially offer up some treaties here. I mean, listen, I would love a non-aggression pact. I guess let's just ask for it. What's the worst that could happen, right?
We feel this proposal would benefit all.
Ooh.
Give me something more, like money.
Now you have my attention.
Okay, so they'll do it if we give them $50, which is all of our dollars, and we currently have no income. But like, we don't really need that money right now. I am inclined to accept this.
I am certain that agreement is the logical way forward.
So
Most pleasing.
in this game, as similar to the Endless games, out in neutral territory, out in the middle of nowhere, people's military units can just fight you. You don't have to necessarily be at war with them. A non-aggression pact prevents that from happening. That may have been more beneficial to her than it is to us, because we do have an awful lot of military units in total, although we don't have that many in this area. This is a dead end. We've discovered a box canyon. Yes, no, I handled that. Thank you. We should probably see, what's green steel?
Greetings, Sovereign. I ask only that you always be courageous and sincere.
Apparently that's what I'm going to ask from everybody.
I'm listening.
So you are loyal, but vindictive. Okay, just deal straight with green and everything will be fine. Plus money from their market quarters, plus science in all their cities. They will retaliate until extermination of aggressors. Okay. You know, we could be friends. We could just be friends with people. So you can see up here, there's a meter for war support. This sort of measures our people's desire to fight their people. Their war support is trending upward because they picked a militarist civilization. So this is just one of the things that Affinity does. It trends your war support upward until 80. So they're going to be a little touchy. We'd really like to not get into fights with them. I mean, I'm going to try. My guess is we're not going to be able to do this because they're probably going to come back with the same deal as the last people did, but let's give it a shot.
We feel this proposal
Yeah.
would benefit all.
Okay, sorry, I cannot do that.
I cannot in good conscience accept this proposal.
All right, well, maybe we'll make friends later. So yes, I am at peace with the Hittites, thank you. Okay. So we could go hunt. Now that we're in the civilization phase, we're past the just wandering units phase. I believe defeating animals in combat is worth money instead of food. Yep. So we'll just earn money toward that toward that non-aggression deal, right? Can I get up there? I can indeed. Ah, that's where we saw the Hittite unit. Okay. let's just go ahead and ransack this for resources. A little bit of money would be nice. All right, so we have a sense of the directions of our neighbors now. We know green is there, yellow is there. So we can probably backfill the... well, I'm assuming this is like the tip of a continent. It may well be the case that there's a land bridge over here. I guess we should probably verify. But it looks like we're planning on settling this region, and then we can like sort of backfill this whole area probably. That should be enough space to work with. Alright, a couple more players have chosen their cultures. How many people are still in the first era? Just one, and they do have stars. They could move up to this era if they wanted to. So we're keeping pace. By the way, I didn't really mention it, but I did get to choose our player color and icon, which is why we are the orange Stegosaurus. Sort of a B-tier dinosaur, but they didn't have any of the A-tier dinosaurs available. Listen, if I could have made it an Ankylosaurus, I would have. Y'all know this. So yeah, let's go ahead and just drop an outpost right there. So it's going to take a turn for that to finish building, and the time that it takes for it to build is based on the amount of industry in the surrounding tiles. It's going to be pretty fast because we've done a good job with that. And then once it has built up into a proper outpost, then we have the option of turning it into a city, which obviously we will take. I think I'm going to fall back with this unit, and we're going to start moving toward that area where we wanted to claim some more land back here. And the other players want to talk to me. The Hittites would like the ability to trade luxuries. I'm into it. If everybody wants to be friendly and do commerce, I can handle that. So we can take a deer with just a single unit, especially if we're able to get the high ground like that. I was kind of curious if it would let us see up onto the cliff anymore. Okay, so we're gonna map this space out here. We have a lot of space to map. Yeah, I really do want you to end up over here. I like the way that when you zoom out, it's not just like a paper map, but it's also a relief map. It makes it really obvious what all the elevation changes are. That's a nice feature. Because the normal graphics are pretty, but they do not always make the elevation changes super obvious. Alright, so we're just going to keep clearing out animal sanctuaries for money.
By building an outpost, claiming territory is this easy. The trick, of course, is keeping it.
So let's turn Kafal Jidma into our very first city. Once completed, you'll be able to improve infrastructures, do all the stuff you can do in a 4X game. Your first outpost can evolve for free, but after that, it's going to cost influence to turn outposts into cities. So that's going to be a big drain on our influence. That's what we're going to spend most of our early game influence on. But now we have some basic tile yields. So you can see our city is bringing in all of the resources from all of the surrounding tiles. In addition, our city is going to generate points of population, and those points of population can be assigned to work on individual resources. You can see we'll produce 6 food per person working food, 6 industry per person working industry, and so on. It's going to take a little while for the food stuff to build out. We should probably build a farmer's quarter early on here. So you can see at the moment, each of our resources can only support 2 people working on that resource. One of the main ways that we expand that is by building districts. They create extra slots for citizens to work, and they often will produce additional resources themselves, or they will increase the efficiency of citizens working on a thing. And you can see in that part near the top of this tooltip where it says resource exploitation, they will also grab particular resources from all of the surrounding tiles. So if we take this and we build it like up here, we will no longer be bringing in the industry from this tile, but we will get all of the food from the adjacent tiles, in addition to the food that the farmers district itself produces. We don't want to build a farmers district here because you build a special district to pick up luxuries, right? Hold on a second. Now that we have a proper city, let's talk about research. So yes, calendar. You can see here, the calendar research will finish immediately because we have more than 35 science stacked up from searching things. So let's just go ahead and take that, because that gives us access to the Artisans Quarter, which lets us pull the resources, the luxury resources, out of the ground. Is that a thing we are extremely going to want to do? Right here. Cannot be built here due to the presence of a mammoth. Okay, well let's solve that problem, shall we? It's a good thing we did bring back the larger number of units. This is a little awkward. Whatever, we have the high ground, we'll figure it out. So, attacking downhill. Sadly, it's not really very easy for us to surround this thing and get a flank. So I think we're just going to do this. Of course, our units are providing a reasonable combat strength bonus to each other just from being grouped up like this. Okay. $20, hooray. Now that the district location is no longer filled up, we can build over this. And then once we built over this, actually, we'll be able to build a farmer's district here, I believe, because you can build off of existing districts. And we'll pick up all of the resources on these tiles out here. So that's pretty important. Obviously, you can rush constructions with money. We do not have anywhere near that amount of money. That's kind of what I was saying about $50 earlier. It's just like, I'm okay with giving $50 to another player because it really is not an amount of money that changes anything.
You intrigue me.
Okay.
Let's talk.
The Nubians, now seeing that we're actually about to have a luxury resource, are all of a sudden like, oh yeah, trade, right.
I am certain that agrees.
I would also like to be able to trade. All right, let's, like I said, move you around to go pick up some of that territory in what will become our backfield. And so what is the Nubian military unit is, I've already forgotten. Did we look at that? It might be an archer or something. I mean, whatever. They're not going to fight us, probably. So there's some porcelain just to the west of them. We could get competitive with them for territory. We could try to, like, box them out of some of this stuff. This region in particular is kind of interesting because it does have another papyrus, and then it also has another type of thing. You can see you do get a stability bonus for each different kind of luxury resource you have, so it is good to make sure you're getting lots of different ones. We see there is a horse tile over in this region. The region that has all of the dye. So man, actually, there's a huge amount of useful territory near us. Okay, we may need to pull some of our units back to start collecting all this stuff. I say as I run a unit directly away from us. Yeah, y'all probably come home. You've done good work, but there's going to be a lot more to do. We are not at full health, so we can probably take this thing. So you can see our tribes have been transformed into scouts when we went up into the next era, and the scout does have a higher combat strength than the tribe unit did. So yeah, we can get that. Oh, we took kind of a lot of damage there, though. More than I was expecting. All right, well, go ahead and ransack this. And we still have a little bit of science left over. You can see right now we're producing a total of 3 points of science per turn, so it's going to be a little while before we have the next thing. Our culture's emblematic unit is on the wheel technology. It's very far away. We are not close to that. Flood irrigation. Boy, irrigation does seem very good for us. All right. We're going to start working toward that. I know it's going to take a long time at our current rate of science, but obviously we are not planning to maintain our current level of science for very long. Okay, and the final nomadic tribe has moved up into this era. So you can see here a reading of every player's score and their current star progress in whatever era they're in. For the moment, we're leading. We got a little bit lucky by finding that natural wonder, though. We did, in fact, successfully plunder. And... we've had a civic open up. By what right do we rule? So, the deal with these is, every so often we're going to fulfill a prerequisite that will unlock one of these civic choices. And then we will have to spend influence to actually make the choice. And I am a little reluctant to spend a lot on that right now, because we do need to be saving our influence for actually creating outposts and stuff. But, that said, spending some influence to make that cheaper is probably worthwhile. That's going to be a savings that will turn out in our favor eventually. The civics choices will also move our ideology sliders. So you can see here there are 4 sort of basic conflicts: tradition versus progress, authority versus liberty, homeland versus world, and individualism versus collectivism. And at different points on these scales, you get different types of bonuses. They all give plus stability when they're in the middle. And as you tack more toward one direction, you trade some of that stability for stat bonuses. So, if we enact customary laws, ruling by historical precedent and tradition, obviously it'll move us toward the tradition slider, but it'll make it cheaper for us to create outposts. I think I might go this way instead, though. I don't know that we're going to be founding a lot of cities right away, but we're going to be putting down a lot of outposts very quickly. And once the outposts are settled, we're going to want to attach them to our existing cities, probably. So reducing this cost and moving us toward plus science, I think, makes a lot of sense. So let's enact codified laws here.
Once you discover writing, you can literally throw the book at them.
Okay. Thank you, narrator. Also, founding myths. We claim inherent dominion over the land and beasts, or our supremacy is ordained, for we are the chosen ones. Again, affecting that tradition versus progress meter. So this is going to give us just raw influence gain versus faith gain, where we could try to, if you want to try to get an early religion going, I could see taking this faith option. I kind of like the idea of just pushing into the plus 10% science zone as quickly as possible, though. So we're going to enact this one as well.
Why was this even a question? Let's keep it simple. We've been here. It's our place.
Possession is 9/10 of the law, or whatever. That's definitely not actually true, but in our society it is. So hopefully, I mean, that's going to pay itself off in terms of influence very, very quickly. Hopefully I have not made foolish choices here. I do love science, you know? So we should definitely finish getting a hold of all this information. Oh, hey, that's another player. So this is going to become contentious pretty quickly. We should definitely at least, we're going to have this scout poke down here and meet whoever is brown. And do I want you to... Let's see. This unit's going to be able to grab this region for us relatively soon. I think that is definitely the plan. Right? It's got to be just drop a city in the river delta area. Because, like, look at all these tiles are 2 and 3 points, and then this one has, like, an extra point from somewhere. It being a river spring, I guess, is probably what's generating the extra point of food. I do wish that the tiles explained the breakdown of where their resources come from a little bit more like Endless Legend style. That might be a thing that might be a thing that is in the game and I just have to enable it, potentially. I'll have a look between this video and the next.
Let's go.
You know what? Let's get rid of a hostile animal lair just as quickly as we can. So as you might imagine, the hostile animals are like the peaceful ones, except they are better at fighting, and they will attack you, and they will make your life difficult. I will say we're definitely benefiting from having generated so much food in that first era. Like taking our time and exploring around has left us with an awful lot of functional scouting bodies, and I think that it is probably worth the time we spent. We continue to plunder. Armies that have orders, follow your orders. Do we have any sense of where in this area we want to settle? So you can see when you zoom out to this level, you can see the tiles that have a little bit of bonus stuff on them. Like here we have some Terra Rosa, so this tile has a little bit of bonus science. Down here we have, yeah, a settlement down here to take advantage of like the oasis and the black soil. Like this might be a good spot for that other outpost. The tile with the luxury resource on it, of course, has a bonus point of money. Yeah, I think that's a pretty strong site, and it keeps Brown from expanding up and cornering us too much. You are still headed for this. Oh, hey, we do have a hostile animal here. Okay, it's only 11 combat strength. Like it's better than a deer, but it's not better than a deer by that much. Certainly not like a worrying amount. And you are the one who's going to try to meet this other player.
The Assyrians.
Ah.
The fact that they have horses and siege engines might indicate their preferences as a neighbor.
Yeah, that's not 100% ideal. Let's say howdy.
Greetings, Sovereign. Do you too believe that there is no limit to how high humanity might soar?
There might be some benefit to not introducing ourselves to them, because I think what's going on here, the reason that they don't know us yet, is that we have seen them, but they have not seen us. And that means that they're, a lot less likely to declare war on me. But probably it's worth introducing ourselves, if only to get a sense of the personality. Okay, cruel and militarist. That's fun. So they work their own people to death, and they favor the use of military power to reach their goals. They have much cheaper outposts. They're very good at expanding, and they tend to space out their outposts. Okay. Concerning. You know what? Somebody's got to fight this bear. Let's go handle the bear. I'm going to manual this just to reduce the chances of our wounded unit dying.
Will do. Off we go.
Are we likely to be able to... I guess
Follow me.
if I do this, we can have this unit step down here, and we can do flanks, and then the injured unit can fight from the high ground. Unless the bear moves to a better position, because it is some kind of strategic genius.
Charge.
That's very good bear art. Very compelling. You know what? I should have just done this before combat. I didn't really think about how I was going to sequence my actions, but if I had done this, this unit would have had an extra point of combat strength. We would probably have taken a little bit less damage.
No mercy.
Alright, that's enough of that. Your whole deal was derailed by the presence of a mammoth. There are way too many mammoths around here. Way too many animals in general. We need to reduce the number of animals, not because we even want the resources, but just because they are a serious traffic hazard. Which, if you've ever lived in an area that has an actual deer in it, that's just how deer are. That's how they do. They don't care about your car. They are cold-blooded, remarkably mean-spirited creatures. They look lovely and gentle. They are not, in practice, all that lovely or all that gentle. Alright, what have we here? As your horizons widen, your armies grow in lockstep with your ambitions. Now, with military power spread over several regiments, it is time to decide the nature of the soldiers who compose your armies. So we got this, I'm sure, just because we do have a whole lot of military units. Or rather, a whole lot of different armies. So what is the deal with this? So the cost to enact civics is going to keep going up. It is based on the number of civics that you have, the number of choices that you have made. So we can increase the combat strength of all of our units by 1 for the entirety of the game. That does seem pretty good. That's going to move us toward bonus influence production on emblematic districts. And the other way is vision range and detection range. That's interesting. Or a big reduction in the unit cost, or the industry cost of building units. I have to say, I feel like this is a very powerful bonus, but I think for the moment we're just not going to do either of these. Neither of them are very pressing, and we have other uses for that influence. So I think we're planning on putting down the outpost right here. So that is in fact going to cost us 10. It's a little bit less food, but a little bit more industry. And you can see the build time is different because of the differing amount of industry. Yeah, let's just go ahead and do that. Now you can... oh, you cannot, in fact. I thought I remembered that you could use gold to rush this too, but apparently not. Okay, well then it's good that we're building it in the location where all the industry is.
What do you say to this appealing proposal?
The Assyrians would also like access to trade. And, oh, did they close their borders on me? Is that why this is...
Friend,
Oh, no,
give
okay.
me a moment to think.
This has a marker on it because it doesn't matter if our borders are closed. The Assyrians are expansionists. Okay,
I am certain that agrees.
I'll do this. I would love to have a bunch of income from everybody buying access to my resources. That sounds fine. Because you can make quite a lot of money that way, if I remember correctly. Here, you head up there. I don't really know what I want to do with all these units. Yeah, I guess you explore that way and we'll have the larger army come clear out this deer and that thing there. This mammoth. Absolutely the worst. I like the little like glittery, sparkly effect on the resources as they go up at the beginning of the turn. That's nice. All right, so I'm pretty sure we want to drop this right here. Yeah, 1310. Yeah, I prioritize industry pretty highly at the beginning of the game. I mean, obviously food matters a huge amount as well, but... And once we have access to the buildings from irrigation and stuff, like all of this riverland is going to be so valuable. All right, you also had some standing orders. Oh, you have time to grab this on your way over. 8 additional science. Unfortunately, that's a huge number of turns of our current science rate. All right, I'm going to put this down too, so we're burning through our influence pretty quickly. We stockpiled a decent amount, but it is really running out. Okay, that was high value. Let's jump this deer. We should be able to handle a single deer, I would think. Now, I have to assume the deer's going to start on the high ground, so we're just going to back up.
I'm on it.
You know what? I'm going to put you over there in the hopes that the deer will want to attack the lower health guy and will be able to bait it onto the low ground. Oh, it did not start on the high ground. What a curious decision. So the river penalty is -3 strength and the high ground penalty is +4.
Off we go.
So I am willing to pay. And then the question is, am I willing to, like, if we do this for the flank, then the deer is almost certainly going to kill the low health unit. I think I'm just going to come over here and provide that adjacency morale bonus.
No fear.
Well, we're going to do a heck of a lot more damage to it than it's going to do to us. The thing is, I'm concerned that, like, I think, as things stand now, I think if it attacks the low ground unit, it won't do enough damage to kill them. Oh, it's not even going to try. It's just going to negate the high ground bonus. That's smart. Smarter than I like to see from a deer. I mean, obviously, it has created a pretty bad situation for itself. But I'll give it this. It did make it up onto the high ground. Alright, I think we've kind of got this all... You know what? Just go ahead and merge up. We need to get these armies into friendly territory so that we can resume healing. But fortunately, there's some friendly territory right over here. See, I think you're coming back home as well. This army I'm going to send east, and we're going to keep exploring this stuff. But I want to merge my forces up into something that resembles a real army. Just in case. Because, you know, the Assyrians and everything. Alright. Found ourselves a little bit more money. This is like buyout money. You know what, yeah, go ahead and do
shelter
that.
for those who need it. A place to store food. Pens for the pigs. It may not be glorious, but it beats sleeping under trees.
Okay, so we've gotten access to this stuff, and immediately people are purchasing access to our resource. So when this happens, we don't lose it. They also get the effect of it, and they have to pay us for the privilege. We don't get the chance to say no to that. If you have can trade for luxuries available, anybody can just pay you money. Whoever you have that treaty available with can just pay you for your stuff. Rastaban will enter the sphere of influence of the Nubians. Ah, okay. This area here. So there's a whole fancy influence system going on here. If we click, you can see, based on the amount of influence that is being produced in different places, areas can be converted to the influence sphere of another player. And I don't exactly know how this works. This is a mechanic that we're going to spend a significant amount of time feeling out. But basically, if the Nubians continue to generate more influence pressure than we do, then their culture will become dominant in this area. And once that happens, I believe it gives them a casus belli, basically, to like, essentially they view these people as theirs and they can declare war on us to liberate these people from our empire. So for the purpose of reducing friction, it's a good idea to make sure we are culturally dominant. We are influentially dominant in our own regions. Maybe not a thing we have a lot of options for right now. We just need to increase our total amount of influence generation. Well, once we build our emblematic district, that'll help. Here, let's work on that now, shall we? I probably want to build this farmers district. Yeah, reaching out, grabbing more river tiles and stuff. That is +7 food. It is, of course, a stability penalty, but our starting stability is quite high. I think we gotta get the birth rate up. We gotta get food up so that food will generate more population. So you can see here, our starting stability, very, very high. We will slowly lose stability over time as the empire gets wider. The more cities and districts you have, the less stability you have. And in addition, as we continue to move our ideology sliders around, obviously that will have significant effects. So this is something that we have to watch. While it's high, positive events are more likely to occur and negative events are less likely to occur. Once it gets lower, obviously, that switches around. And in addition, a city with low enough stability can start to rebel, which obviously is real bad news. So we desperately need to keep it above like 30%, but higher is better because, you know, positive events and stuff. All right, 221 to buy this out, so it's not going to be that many turns before we can do it. I definitely want to rush that as quickly as we can. Like, we need the food income. And now that you've picked this up, I think... Yeah, I'm gonna merge these two together. Right now, we can have armies contain up to 4 units. Let's make sure we have an army near the front that is at maximum strength, just in case someone decides they want to get clever. And remember, we do have this cultural blitz ability. Now that we've talked about how influence spheres work a little bit, we can potentially pour some money into the affected territory, gain influence for each adjacent territory already in our sphere, and immediately pull that territory back into our sphere. So if we did it here, it would give us it would give us benefits because there's other territories around that are orange. But yeah, it's going to be a thing that we're going to have to like keep an eye on pretty much constantly. Okay, Also, remember, we're trying to do all this stuff. Remember all this stuff? We need to get our influence generation up for this purpose as well, so that we're earning the really valuable era stars as we continue to increase our rate of population gain and build districts and stuff. We're getting all this stuff done slowly but surely. You know, it's a 4X game. They're complicated. There's a lot of things to keep track of. All right, other people are buying into my resources, which is lovely. I do love some money. We have something from Yellow.
Let's talk.
Ah, okay. So Yellow would like the ability to also trade strategic resources. I don't think this is a problem for us. We don't really have access to any, so this is more likely to benefit us than it is them. But trade is just like a Nubian thing. I don't remember how all of their civilization stuff works, but I know they have some trade-related stuff, so I'm sure it's in the AI routine to get trade established as early as possible. Maybe even before it is necessarily mechanically very strong. You know, in preparation for the period when it is mechanically very strong. So let's just go ahead and merge those armies up. You are going to return to the north and the east and just do some scouting. Yeah, y'all may as well merge up as well. Okay, another 40 money is actually pretty great. And then, like I said, from here, I think the most important thing is just get back in friendly territory because you desperately need to heal. And I think we're probably going to merge you up as well. All right, so all these outposts are ticking away. You know, I am going to go ahead and rush that out. Let's get that food going. Okay, so now we're producing 12 food per turn. Definitely a lot better. And I think it is time to begin construction of the Confucian School. So, +5 science per adjacent mountain is pretty great, actually. Oh, interesting. So this one would only get +3 because I guess it doesn't count mountains that are outside of the territory. Weird. Well, yeah, this location where we intended to build it obviously is very good. It increases our stability. Because this is a district that you can see here in the exploitation, it does not get industry. It will just obliterate the industry that is on this tile, but 18 is a lot of science, especially compared to, you know, the amount of science that we're producing naturally. You can see our city is benefiting from the papyrus, plus science on the main plaza, plus science on administrative centers, and just +5% science on top of that. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this start. I think that we've got a cool start that feels very strong, and it feels sort of united. All of the pieces are kind of angling in the same direction. Somebody has discovered another natural wonder. So, a lot of our armies we don't really have big moves with now. I guess one thing I should probably do, maybe what we should be doing with this refugee group right now is just grabbing control of this region to prevent Yellow from sort of like settling up around us. Or like Green's over here somewhere, right? Yeah, just kind of like create a wall of our territory all the way to the northern coast to keep all this stuff really secure. So this region might be a prime place to put down another outpost right now. So we definitely want to do it kind of near the mountains. We want to have access to like a Confucian school here or something. So this is not a bad spot. Right, because there's some decently high value tiles around here. Oh, this next one's going to be 90 influence. Okay, well, it might be a second before we get that done. All right, you can see once we're in friendly territory, we are regenerating every turn. Yeah, y'all just kind of, I guess, just kind of hang out. We'll just put you in a little bit more of a central location. I am very curious what these strategic resource deposits are going to turn out to be. All right, so this turn, a whole bunch of our outposts have finally developed, and unfortunately, my plan was to connect some of them to our capital right away, but apparently we're having some real influence problems at the moment. So you can see, we can attach a district to a city, and that'll mean the city is working, it has control of both regions, and the outpost will become a district that is owned by the city, and the city will gain all of the exploitation around the outpost. Obviously, we can also just develop it into a city in its own right, which is going to cost yeesh. Okay. Yeah, second city, maybe a little bit further away than I was planning. That's a lot of influence, man. Alright, I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do then, because I really do want to claim more territory. Yeah, we can see the Hittites are reaching out too. Well, alright, in terms of building a wall to the north, I guess it's more efficient for us to just grab this region. I was going to try to be greedy and do it this way, but apparently there is no way we will ever have enough influence to do that, so... Oh god. What is it? It's a bear. Well, it's just one bear. It does have the high ground. This bear is at a tactically superior position. Before we figure out what we're going to do with the bear, though, I noticed it looks like an independent people has founded some land behind us. The Acadians. They are individualist homelanders, so the more similar our ideological positions are to theirs, the easier it is for us to influence them. You can see this global proximity thing. I don't think that this... Oh, right, because we're aesthetes. Our ideological proximity is always treated as though it was 100%. Actually pretty handy. So, right now, they just have an outpost in the region. They can build it up into a city just like anybody else could. And if they do that, then we'll be able to like deal with them and buy access to their resources and maybe like rent control of their armies. And eventually, if we exert enough influence pressure, potentially assimilate them into our empire, which is a real handy way of getting a hold of a region without having to actually pay the building a city cost. So I hope that they do that for us. And for the moment, they're peaceful looking. Oh, no, they have a city already. Then must wait for this outpost to become a city. I wonder if one of these marks is in error. Well, let's start another turn and we'll see. Here, we can come over here and grab this. I know we didn't heal very much, but I want to grab this right now, and then we'll come back and we'll heal some more. And I mean, this should be very trivial. Hooray, we did it. $5 more. So yeah, just kind of hang out like... Oh, that's a thing. I do want that thing. All right, get up here. Curiosities are spawning all over the place. Boy, that bear is inconvenient. We can probably beat a bear one-on-one. I'm just going to have to drag him backward into the low ground. Yeah. All right, let's see if we can... in fact, pull this off. Obviously, I don't want to jump up here with him.
Follow me.
If we just drag him down to an even fight, it should be pretty good for us. Like I said, a 2-point combat strength difference is really quite large. There is also a fair amount of randomness in the combat system. You can see when we mouse over, he'll do 7 to 25 damage to us. So like, that's a pretty huge variance. It's possible that if he rolls high and we roll low, he actually does more damage. But like the expected values here, even from just a 3-point combat strength difference, are pretty stark. All right. And that bear had $10 in his wallet. Nice. Okay, so it's gonna be a while before we have enough to buy out our Confucian school here. Hooray! We finally have births. Oh, and we've got the ability to found the base of our religion. So +5 faith per number of attached territories, or +1 faith for population. Polytheism is definitely going to be a lot more early game faith for us. Our early game population is not going to grow super quickly because of the area that we've settled in. So let's go ahead and do that. And we are seeing here to some extent the price of my my early game outpost strategy. Like, we really are stretched thin because of the fact that I was so aggressive with grabbing territory. But like I said, to some extent, what we're doing here is just about learning. And apparently, in this version of the game, you have to be a little bit more circumspect about laying down outposts. It's all right. We'll get it solved. Ooh, wow, 40 influence. That was actually a really nice find. So what was the attach cost on Rastaban? It's not really that much. Yeah, let's... I do want to get this down, but we are definitely going to attach some regions. Should I have moved this city out one tile so that we could put the Confucian school here? I mean, whatever. It's fine. If we lose 5 science, it's not the end of the world. And we have another thing. Oh. We have an independent peoples related civic on account of we met some independent peoples. My inclination would be to lower the assimilate cost rather than the cost to take control of their armies, but again, this is a thing that I don't think we need to spend influence on right now. Not a pressing issue. Here we can dismiss those. I know all of the other players care a great deal about my very, very fancy resources. So let's figure out where we want to put down this outpost. I mean, there's this tile here, which has 5 points of resources. It's probably close to that. That's also 5 points of resources. We have, in fact, earned one of our agrarian stars. Thanks to all of this food that we're always generating.
Over this way.
Okay, this tile is 3 and 3. That's definitely compelling. Here, get on the river. So this region has access to silk. Wow, plus 5% industry. That is a mighty good luxury resource. There's a couple copies of it too, a couple of strategics. Yeah, this is definitely a high value region. And there's Hittites over there planning to lay down probably their zone behind us. Oh, and they have like actual melee units, like grown up for real fighting units. I mean, this is pretty good. I'm not gonna pick a location just yet. So let's just get out of their territory. Yeah, we definitely need to heal up. So do we have a sense of... We can't really see Green's border very well. We know they've got an outpost here, but we don't know how much like actual claimed territory is behind it. So, I mean, we're going to have the resources necessary to put down that outpost. We'll worry about city evolution later. Let's just go ahead and attach Kraz to the capital. I think this is maybe... I'm actually pretty torn about which one of these two is more important. They're both very high value. Let's do Kraz. So, city's going to take a little bit of a stability hit here. You can see minus 20 stability from number of attached territories. And we can change this later. We can detach this and make it its own city or attach it to another city. So we've not made any like permanent decisions here. But now we are exploiting all of the resources on the tiles around the outpost. And you can see it's added quite a bit of food and industry. And a little bit of science. And then we don't want to attach another one after that, because we need to have enough to lay down this outpost. And I'm going to make sure we get this. Okay. Managed to find ourselves enough science. Yep, see, they're encroaching real quickly here. Okay, so I was kind of waiting to see if this was a reasonable settle, because it's still near several of the good tiles, but it also, we could potentially have put down a Confucian school here to benefit from the mountains, but never mind, that's a big lake. That is not how that works. All right, so... I think we reduced the outpost cost because I reduced the number of outposts I have because of the fact that I converted one of my territories into city. Ah, shoot. That's a little awkward. Yeah, we're going to have to walk around. Oh, we spawned a new military unit. Well, they're going to get where we're going a heck of a lot faster. And these are proper warriors. They're not as fast moving, but that 19 combat strength, obviously, is a pretty big deal. All right, so did we ever secure that non-aggression pact here? We did not. I will pay your price.
Arrangement would see.
I think I can outbuild them, so I would rather be peaceful. Yep, we are at peace with the Hittites. Good news for us. I think. Probably. And I guess I don't really know what to do with y'all. Just get over here and clear out this deer, I guess. Hopefully Yellow won't be too annoyed at me stealing that from them. And then back in the river so that we can paddle back to our territory. And now that we have access to irrigation, what do we want next? So you can see the stuff in Era 2 is locked. We're not allowed to research this stuff until our empire reaches Era 2. So there's not a huge amount in this early thing. I guess in order to make use of our basic unit here, we do need to be able to exploit horses. So domestication is probably a good move. We're up to 10 science per turn, and that's without even having completed our district. We're getting it done. All right, our city has converted to our religion. That's nice. We can probably close that. So you can see with our religion, we're generating a certain amount of faith per turn. The faith converts people in cities, and once we have enough followers, our religion will be able to gain tenets, which will give us, you know, bonuses, flat resource bonuses, or wow, +2 stability on river would be really good for us. Plus influence from mountains. Yeah, these are neat. They have redesigned these since the last closed beta. So we're gonna get that converted to Zhu polytheism. We may have the only religion in the area. So probably it's going to convert all of the nearby cities. I'd be lying if I said I was 100% sure how that works. Like, I don't know why we have a religion exactly. Is it just having produced a certain amount of influence or something? I have no idea. All right, let's go ahead and put this down. We can work with that. So the Hittites are exerting more influence pressure on this than we are. That's fair. It's pretty far away from all of our territories. It'll be fine. So that's going to convert in 2 turns, does that say? It does indeed. All right. And I think that's probably all of the territory that we should grab for the moment. I'm going to merge these 2 armies up, but I wanted to make sure that I got this laid down. Yeah, y'all are just coming home. And you're going to fight a deer. So I'm tired of all these deer running around my territory. Okay, somebody took a fair amount of damage there. All right, so let's go one more turn here because I want to get our district up and I want to admire our yields with our emblematic district built. And we can zoom here. Let me turn off the yields so we can really admire. We can zoom in and actually see the buildings. As we continue to move through the eras and we pick up new cultures, the building design in most of our districts will change to the new culture's design, but the emblematic district will always stay the way it was when you built it. So over time, as you move through the eras, your cities end up with this like cool patchwork of buildings from all of the different cultures that you've been over the years. I just think it's a really cool system. So that is a huge amount of science. That way more than doubled our science output. Well, not way more than doubled. An unexpected rivalry has erupted between two temples in Haojing, each representing a different sect of Zhu polytheism. One temple argues that religious matters should be left in the hands of dispassionate men. Yep, that's what men are. While the other contends that only women with their capacity for nurturing life possess the necessary understanding for these affairs. These quarrels must stop before your inhabitants start fighting each other. So, these choices will have effects on our policies further down the line. And you can see also event choices have an ideology associated with them, and they will usually move the ideology marker a single point in that direction. I think we definitely want to take the all thing here, because right now our ideology marker is just about to jump up into that plus 10% quantum. And also, for basic common decency. Okay, and with that, with the beginnings of our empire properly established, our borders slowly spidering outwards, enemies approaching and having feelings about us approaching. You can see they solidified this border real quick. So they either turned this into a city or they attached it to their city. I think we've sort of got the basic shape of the conflicts to come set up. And yes, Akkad has become a proper city now. So you can see we're getting a little bit of relation score just for the amount of influence that we're exerting over them. And over time, that will allow us to eventually assimilate them into our empire. And probably nobody else is going to exert much pressure on them because we kind of like built all the way around them. So this might just be a basically free city, later. But anyway, as I'm saying, I think we've got sort of the core of our game set up, and this is where I'm going to call this episode for today. Thank you all so much for watching. I know it's complicated. I know there's a lot here, but we're going to get it all under control. In time, it will be like second nature. So the intention with the series is for there to be roughly an hour of gameplay every weekday. So come back next time, tomorrow, and by tomorrow I mean Wednesday, because it's definitely still Tuesday. I haven't gone to bed yet. Come back sometime on Wednesday for more, and we'll see you then.